Hi students, today in this video we go for the another part, the third part of the chapter number 6. This is Jordy's phone. We understood in the second part that Jordy want to bring the phone home and his father allowed him to go in the forest to take the phone home, and now we see that what happened in the story. And here is the third part, that moment directly in front of him startled him so that he tumbled backward. Movement directly means when Jody moves directly, then startled means surprised him so that he tumbled backward. He turned backward, the phone lifted its face to his, now he saw phone that it lifted its face to Jody. He turned its head, it turns its head with a wide wandering motion and shook him through with the stare of its liquid eyes. It turned its head, the phone turned its head to Jody and with wandering motion and shook him through with the stare of its liquid eyes, means its eyes were full of tears. It was queering means shaking. It made no effort to rise or run because it became very, very weak. Jody could not trust himself to move. Jody had no trust himself that I show the phone or not, because he was very wondered, he was very surprised. He whispered, "It's me." He whispered to phone that it's me, I am here. The phone lifted its nose, scenting him. The phone lifted its nose and smelling Jody. He reached out one hand and laid it on the soft neck. Jody reached out one hand, means take one hand and laid it on the soft neck of deer. The touch made him delirious. The touch of that phone made very excited. Jody made very excited with the touch of that phone. He moved forward on all fours until he was close beside it. He moved forward, means Jody moved forward on his legs until he was close beside that phone. He put his arms around its body. A light convulsion passed over it, but it did not stir. Convulsion means shiver. Jody put his arms around the phone and a light shivering passed over the phone, but it did not stir means move. The phone did not move because it became very, very weak. Now we go for the next paragraph. He stroked its sides as gently as though the phone were a china deer and he might break it. He stroked means he hit its sides as gently, as softly, because this phone was a china deer and he might break it, means its skin was very soft. So if he struck hardly, then it can break. It was slick and clean and had a sweet scent of grass. Here the describing words are there for that phone, that it was very slick means smooth and shiny, and clean, very clean, and sweet scent of grass. We can smell sweet scent of grass around it. He rose slowly and lifted the phone from the ground. He means Jody. Jody rose means Jody picked that phone slowly and lifted the phone from the ground. Its legs hung limply, means without stillness. The phone's legs hung means it is a past of hang. They were surprisingly long and he had to hoist the phone as high as possible under his arm. They were surprisingly long means very long. The leg of that phone were very long and he had to hold that phone as high as possible, because if its legs trapped in the bushes, then they both can trap in the forest. He was afraid that it might kick and glit at sight and smell of its mother. Jody was afraid that if it smells his mother's smell, then It may be kick to me and bleat to me. He skirted the clearing and pushed his way into the thicket. He passed away from the clearing and he go now pushed his way to the thicket, means to the bushes. It was difficult to fight through with his burden. Jody had very difficulty to find the way because he lifted the phone and it is very burden with him. The phone's legs caught in the bushes and he could not lift his own with freedom. The phone's legs were very long and they trapped into bushes and Jody could not lift the legs by his own. He tried to shield its face from prickling vines. He tried to save its face from the prickling vines, means from the sharp vine trees. Its head bobbed with his stride. Stride means walking. The face, the head of that phone bobbed means moved with Jody's walking. His heart thumped with the marvel of its acceptance of him. His heart means Jody's heart became very high because the phone was near with him. He reached the trail and walked as fast as he could until he came to the intersection with the road home. He reached the trail, he reached the narrow path, and as fast as he could walk, he could walk as fast, and he came to intersection with the home side road. He stopped to rest and set down the phone down on its dangling legs. He stopped to rest for some time, and he set down the phone on its dangling, means moving legs. It wavered on them. Now the phone wavered means moved on them. It looked at him and bleated. The phone looked at Jody and bleated means hit Jody. So now we go for the next. He said, enchanted, I will carry you after I get my breath. Now Jody became very nervous and said that I take my breath and after then I will carry you. He remembered his father saying that a phone would follow if it had first been carried. If one time we carry the phone, then it could be follow us. He started away slowly. Now Jody wanted to start the walk slowly. The phone stayed after him. The phone watched at him. He came back to it. Jody came back to phone and stroked it, means hit it, and walked away again. Again he walked away. It took a few wobbling steps towards him and cried piteously. It means phone took a few wobbling, means moving steps towards Jody and cried piteously, means very kindly. It was willing to follow him. The phone was willing, means want to follow Jody. It belonged to him. It was now Jody's phone. It was his own. It was now Jody's own phone. He was light-headed with his joy. Light-headed means unable to think clearly. He was unable to think that because he became very happy. He wanted to fondle it, to run. He wanted to fondle means to carry it, to carry that phone, to run. And now we go for the next page. To run and romp with it. Jody wants to run, to play with your phone, to call to it, to come to him. Now Jody wants to call to it that come near. He dared not alarm him. Alarm it means frightened. He had no dare to frighten the phone. He picked it up and carried it in front of him over his two arms. He picked the phone. It seemed to him that he walked without effort. It seemed to him that he can walk without effort. His arms began to ache and he was forced to stop again. Now Jody's arms began to ache, means began to pain, and he was now forced to stop again. He put the phone downside. When he walked on, the phone followed him at once. Now phone followed Jody. He allowed it to walk a little distance. A little distance Jody allowed that walk by itself, then picked it up again, and then he picked again. The distance home was nothing. Now they came to their home. Jodi's home, he could have walked all day and into the night, carrying it and watching it follow. He could have walked, means Jody walked day and night, and he became now tired. He was wet with sweat, but a light breeze blew through the June morning, cooling him. He was wet with sweat, means he was very much tired, and light breeze and the cool air of that June morning cooling him. The sky was as clear as spring water in a blue china cup. Here is comparison that the sky was very blue, like a spring water in a blue china cup. He came to the clearing, he came to the open space. It was fresh and green after the night's rain. The whole night the rain was there, and it was now fresh and green atmosphere. He fumbled with the latch and was finally obliged to set down the phone to manage it. He fumbled means he tried to open the door of that his home and set down the phone to manage itself. Then he had an idea. He would walk into the house, into Penny's bedroom. Now he walked towards his father's bedroom, with the phone walking behind him. Phone was walking behind him, but at the steps the phone backed and refused to climb them. But when steps came, the phone backed, means was unwilling to and refused to come with him. He picked it up and went to his father. Now Jody picked that phone and went to his father. Penny lay with closed eyes. Penny was sleeping. His father was sleeping. Jody called, "Pa, look." Jody said to his father that, "Pa, look here." Penny turned his head. Jody stood beside him. The floor clutched hard against him. Penny turned to his father. Jody stood beside his father, and the phone clutched hard, means turned hard against him, watched hard. It seemed to Penny that the boy's eyes were as bright as the phone's. Now Penny felt that the boy's eyes were as bright as the phone's. He sighed, "I'm glad you found him." Now Penny became very happy and said that, "I'm very glad to find this. You could found this phone." Jody then went to the kitchen. Now Jody wanted to feed that phone. The phone bubbled after him. The phone moved after Jody. A pan of morning's milk stood in the kitchen. In the kitchen there was a pan of morning milk. The cream had risen on it. There was a cream on that milk. He skimmed the cream into a jug. He skimmed means he poured the cream into a jug. He poured milk into a small gourd, means a small pan, small pot. He held it out to the phone. He held the milk to the phone. It butted it suddenly. Butted means it hit it suddenly, means it kicked it, smelling the milk. It smelling the milk, and it could not know that what was there. He saved it precariously from spilling over the floor. Jody saved with very difficulty that milk from spilling over the floor. It could make nothing of the milk in the gourd. If Jody didn't save that milk, then there was no milk in the gourd in the pot. He dipped his fingers in the milk and thrust them into the phone's soft wet mouth. Now Jody tried to feed that phone, and he dipped his fingers. He poured his fingers in the milk and thrust them. He moved them into the phone's soft wet mouth. It shook greedily. The phone was very hungry, and it shook means it took the milk with greedily, means hungrily. When he withdrew them, when he took away that his fingers, then it bleated frantically and butted him. Bleated frantically means very madly. It bleated. It hit him because it want more milk. He dipped his fingers again, and as the phone shook, he lowered them slowly into the milk. If he dipped his fingers away and up, again the phone shook his fingers, and now he lowered his fingers into the milk. The phone blew and shook and snarled. So now we go for the next page. The phone blew and shook and snorted. The phone made a noise now. It stamped its hooves. It stamped its hooves means legs impatiently because it not long wait for that milk. As long as he held his fingers below the level of the milk, the phone was content. Now the phone was content, and now Jody feed that phone. Jody succeeded to feed that phone. It closed its eyes dreamily. Now it wanted to sleep. It was ecstasy to feel its tongue against his hand. When Jody feed that phone with his fingers, then it was ecstasy, means it was very excitement. To feel its tongue, the tongue of that phone, against his hand. When his tongue touched with the hand of the Jody, then it became very great feeling for Jody. Its small tail flicked back and forth. The tail of that phone moved back and forth. The last of the milk vanished in a swirl and foam and gurgling. The phone shook all the milk till the last drop of the milk in the pot. So Jody feed that phone by the dipped the fingers in the milk. So this is the story about Jody and his phone, and this story is written by Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings, the writer of this story, and I hope you understood the whole story very, very well. You have to read this story from your Honeydew textbook. Thank you.